So now we live in a world that appears to be on the brink of its own death or extinction, and the reason we make that assumption is because our bridges are burning behind us. We see no way back to the world of the hunting and gathering pastoralists of the high Paleolithic, of the Saharan grasslands. We see no way back to the Gothic piety of a Europe with under 30 million people in it. Our bridges are burning, and our religions, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, the major Western religions persistently insist that we are caught in a tightening spiral of ever-increasing speed that is carrying us toward an unimaginable confrontation with something which they call God, the Second Coming, the Messiah, you name it. As cool-headed a rationalist as Arnold Toynbee, when he sat down to write a study of history, he finally had to face the question, what is history for? And the best he could come up with is history must be about the entry of God into the domain of three-dimensional space. Well, we don't know what God is. Let's not call it God. Let's call it the Philosopher's Stone. Let's call it the Sophic Hydrolith. And I believe that the chaos of our world, the apocalyptic intuition that informs our religions and our dreams, is because ahead of us in time, and now not that far ahead of us in time, is something which, taking a page from the mathematical concern called dynamics, we can call an attractor. The attractor lies ahead of us in time. Universal process is not driven by a downward cascade of Cartesian casuistry. That's the scientific notion, and it leads to a universe of entropy and heat death millions of years in the future. But what we see around us is a continuing and accelerating complexification as human beings, machines, ecosystems, the solar system itself is beginning to knit itself into a tighter and tighter organization. I believe that alchemy provides the best metaphors for understanding this. Nature is the great alchemist par excellence, and we, as its minions, through history, are accelerating the condensation of being toward the unimaginable. So that in my system, my way of thinking, there's ultimately a symmetry break with ordinary history. And I call it all kinds of different things, but here this morning, the transcendent other. The transcendent other casts an enormous shadow across the lower dimensional landscape of time. The stirring of the earliest life forms in the Devonian seas caught the call, and every step that has been taken since then has been ever quicker toward the transcendental other. It beckons us, and history is haunted by this thing. History is the shockwave of eschatology. History is a process that lasts, let's be generous, 25,000 years. The wink of an eye in geological time. And in that 25,000 years, religious systems rise and fall, governmental systems, teachers come and go, and there is a sense of being caught in a whirlpool that is spinning us toward fusion with the unimaginable. And this is why the skies of Earth are haunted by flying saucers. They aren't coming from other solar systems. They are scintillas. Remember this alchemical term, sparks. They are scintillas being thrown off from the alchemical quintessence which lies like a great attractor at the end of time. And the purpose of science and technique and electronic media and information transfer and all of this stuff is to knit us together, to dissolve our boundaries and to bring us to a point of singularity where language fails, where we lean over meaning's edge and feel the dizziness of things unsaid. And this lies now, I believe, within our lifetimes, within the lifetime of most of us. This is actually going to break through. I mean, I'm like one of those people carrying a sign that says, "Repent, for the end is near." It's as nutty a position as you can possibly hold. That's why I suspect it has a reasonable chance of being dead on. So that is the point of talking about alchemy and this melding and the production of the quintessence and all that. It is because we are a gnat's eyelash away from a full confrontation with the transcendent other. Our dreams are haunted by it. Our reveries are filled with it. If we take a psychedelic drug, it's revealed before us in all its splendor. This is the force that is pulling us inexorably toward completion. I remember once in a psilocybin trance, I expressed concern about the state of the world, and the nous spoke, the logos spoke, and it said, "No big deal. This is what it's like when a species prepares to depart." We are in the birth canal of a planetary birthing. And as you know, if you come upon a birth in progress, you would never dream that this is the culmination of a natural process. It looks like a catastrophe of some sort. There is moaning and groaning and screaming and thrashing, and blood is being shed, and there is a feeling of the walls are closing in. And yet it is scripted into each of us as a microcosmic reflection of the completion of human history. And not only human history, because we are simply the hands and eyes of all life, all process on this planet. The Gnostics believe that the earth is like an egg, and that a moment will come when the egg must be split asunder. I love to quote the Grateful Dead. You can't go back and you can't stand still. If the thunder don't get you, then the lightning will. That is what we are being funneled toward. That is the message of alchemy. That is the quintessence and perfection of the human enterprise, the biological enterprise. I like to recall the Irish toast, "May you be alive at the end of the world." And we have a real crack at it. It's not a pessimistic vision, it's the most optimistic vision that one can suppose. And I think that's where I'd like to leave it this morning.